please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on What's Hot. I'm Shireen Bhan. Straight to what was yet another record-breaking day on the Lal Street. But before we get to all of that, let's tell you about the market action that we saw. The bulls remained in control and the Nifty hit a fresh closing high for the first time in a year, and only 12 Nifty stocks experienced a bout of weakness. The Sensex closing 200 points higher. Mid-cap stocks continue to outperform. That index gained over 1%, helped by the financial stocks. So good going there this Monday morning for our markets. Well, it's not just investors who have something to cheer about, but even India's LGBT community. That's because after criminalising gay sex in 2013, the Supreme Court is reviewing the order. The Apex Court has agreed to take a fresh look at its own 2013 ruling, which set aside a Delhi High Court order decriminalising homosexuality. A three-judge bench headed by Deepak Mishra, the Chief Justice of India, said it would reconsider and examine the validity of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. This came as the bench was hearing a fresh plea filed by Navtej Singh Johar. This was filed in 2016. The plea seeks to declare Section 377 unconstitutional. Appearing for Johar, senior advocate Arvind Dattar argued that consenting adults cannot be jailed for their sexual preferences. The plea also argued that members of the gay community were living in constant fear of police action. Dattar also referred to a recent 9-judge bench judgment which made privacy a fundamental right and argued that the right to choose a sexual partner was a fundamental right as well. Remember, while delivering its judgment on privacy, the Supreme Court had ruled that protection of sexual orientation is at the core of fundamental rights. The court had also noted that sexual orientation is an essential attribute of privacy, and discrimination against an individual on the basis of sexual orientation was deeply offensive to the dignity and self-worth of that individual. So there seems to be a ray of hope for the gay community in India. Now, the government has not spelt out its position clearly just yet. In 2014, Kiran Rijiju, who was then the Minister of State for Home, had told the Lok Sabha that since the matter was sub judice, a decision could be taken only after the Supreme Court gave its judgment. Speaking of the Lok Sabha, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor tried to introduce a private member's bill to decriminalise homosexuality not once but twice, and the Lok Sabha voted against the introduction of the bill on both occasions. Here are reactions that have come in today after the Supreme Court's decision to review its own judgment on Section 377.
The Supreme Court had said that some things come within the realm of privacy, including choices in food and sexuality. Therefore, the two-judge judgment in Kaushal, which had upheld Section 377 of the IPC, was logically in question.
In 2013, हमारी जो ह्यूमन राइट्स की जो उल्लंघन हुई है उसके बारे में फिर से एक और बार सोचना सबसे बड़ी बात है, एंड आई एम रियली वेरी होपफुल कि अब जाके कुछ अच्छा डिसीजन और निर्णय लेंगी भारत सरकार.
It's very good that the Supreme Court has agreed to the petition to re-examine the earlier judgment, which was completely wrong in our view, because 377 should have no place in the constitution of a democratic country like India. And we want it to be struck down. The CPM has always been against the criminalization of same-sex relations.
So as long as they don't celebrate it, as long as they don't flaunt it, as long as they don't create gay bars to select partners for the in their privacy, what they do, nobody can invade. But if you flaunt it, it has to be punished, and therefore there has to be criminal law, which is Section 377.
Everybody should get equal rights, and they should live freely, fairly, and it is a good decision, and I welcome this.
Well, reactions there to the Supreme Court's decision. The government's unique identification program, or Aadhaar, has not had a great start in 2018. This rocky start began when the Tribune ran a story detailing how its reporter Rachna Khera was able to procure an ID and password to gain access to a portion of the Aadhaar database for just 500 rupees. Using this ID, she could look up personal demographic details linked to an Aadhaar number that she typed in. The government's response was swift. The UIDAI and the government slammed the story, calling it a piece of misreporting. They also denied breach or leak of data. The UIDAI has followed this up by filing an FIR under sections of the Indian Penal Code relating to cheating by impersonation, forgery and using as genuine a forged document. This FIR names Chandigarh-based Daily Tribune, its reporter, and 3 others. The FIR also invokes sections of the IT Act and the Aadhaar Act against the accused. This move has come under sharp criticism from the Editors Guild of India, the opposition, and a host of other bodies. It has been called an attack on the freedom of the press. However, Information Technology and Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad has reacted to the events by tweeting that the government is fully committed to the freedom of the press and maintaining the security of the Aadhaar program. He's also urged the UIDAI to ask the Tribune to assist in further investigations to get to the real offenders. Well, the big policy news break of the day, the government is considering phasing out old trucks and buses from Indian roads. The decision, if it comes through, will see more than 10 lakh buses and trucks off Indian roads. Ronojoy Banerjee joins us now with the details. Ron, at what stage is this decision and what can we expect to see as part of this scrappage policy, so to speak?
Well, this is a significant move that is being considered. What we understand is that the Road Transport Ministry is mulling hardening its position on the scrappage policy, which, remember, this policy has been in the works for the past several months, ever since it's got a clearance at the Cabinet Secretariat level. What we now know is that the Road Transport Ministry is considering setting an upper age cap for all trucks and buses that currently ply on Indian roads. We understand that they are internally discussing whether the upper age cap should be 15 or 20 years. Whatever it may be, it's going to be a significant move because, remember, so far the scrappage policy was being spoken in the realms of being a voluntary policy, wherein which incentives by the central government, by the state government, will eventually incentivize customers to go in for a replacement. But what we understand is that while the bulk of the scrappage policy will still remain voluntary, but as far as these older trucks are concerned, whether it's 15 years or 20 years, that is being that we have to wait and watch what the government finally decides upon. But for these trucks, these vehicles, it will be mandatory. So irrespective of whether you get the incentives or not, because currently, remember, the questions remain whether the Finance Ministry will be able to burden the kind of incentives that a scheme of this nature requires. But even irrespective of incentives, as far as older trucks and buses are concerned, the government is clear. If it's over 15 years or 20 years, we need to wait and watch. They will need to be taken off the roads. What's also important for us to keep in mind is there is already a ban like this in place for the city of Delhi, thanks to the National Green Tribunal that had ruled about a couple of years ago, in fact, that trucks and buses over 15 years cannot ply on Delhi roads. But that's, of course, restricted to the city of Delhi. If this goes through, this policy, it's going to be across India. Of course, this is pretty much, one can say, party time for many of the commercial vehicle makers, and because this policy could well be seen, as some sort of a stimulus package of sorts for the commercial vehicle makers who've already had a good run over the last few months. If this policy goes through, we're talking about over 1 million of these trucks and buses that are at least 15 years or above. So clearly, it's going to be good news for CV makers, but they'll have to wait a little while longer. We understand the policy is still in the works. Maybe another 6 to 8 weeks, we'll see a final announcement by the government.
All right, Ron, appreciate you joining us. So that could be a big boost for truck makers like Tata Motors and Ashok Leyland. Now, the Delhi government has started sealing parts of commercial establishment in Delhi's upscale Khan market. This is for allegedly flouting norms. According to sources, the Supreme Court appointed monitoring committee does not need to furnish any notices upon these facilities. We also learn that this is a part of the 2021 master plan. Ashmit Kumar, who was at Khan market when the sealing was taking place, joins us now. So, Ashmit, it is the unauthorized constructions that are being targeted.
Well, Khan Market, which is one of the hottest, one of the most expensive real estate markets across Asia, Khan Market that plays host to some of the biggest brands in the country, was host to the NDMC's sealing drive, NDMC being the New Delhi Municipal Council, the NDMC acting at the behest of the Supreme Court appointed monitoring panel. Now, just last month, that's December of 2017, the Supreme Court, in fact, had remarked that there has been blatant disregard for residential norms, that commercial properties, commercial establishments are coming up in residential areas, And it is on the back of that that the Supreme Court appointed panel, a panel that consists of the likes of Chairman of EPCA, Bhurelal, former advisor to the Election Commission, KJ Rao, swung into action and directed NDMC to go ahead, visit these markets, these popular markets in the national capital, and to seal unauthorized construction. In fact, just last month, as many as 51 establishments in the Defence Colony market had also been sealed. Today, of course, was the turn of Khan Market. The brief given down by the monitoring panel to EPCA was, the NDMC was very clear that all unauthorized construction is to be sealed. So today we found NDMC officials going store by store, visiting each facility, finding out if there was any violation of norms or unauthorized construction, going ahead and sealing it. This, of course, is going to be a longer exercise. It is likely to spill over tomorrow as well. Of course, on their part, Khan Market Association has expressed a huge deal of disappointment, saying that they've paid the necessary charges and they find this action to be arbitrary in nature. Back to you.
Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. That is the latest on the sealing drive in Delhi's upscale Khan Market. Up next, export growth hits a 4-month low in December. Commerce Ministry plans SOPs. Exclusive details when we return. Well, let's go straight to a CNBC TV18 exclusive news break. Shares of Capital First and IDFC rose in trade today after speculation that there could be the possibility of a merger. Now, market sources tell CNBC TV18 that exploratory talks are underway, but both Capital First and IDFC have denied the same. Lata joins us now with the details. So, Lata, you know, there was a lot of buzz in the morning today, and we saw the stocks, firing away. What exactly is going on here?
Well, the stocks did rise synchronously. IDFC almost 10% at one point in time, ending at gains of 8.76%. No, it's not IDFC. IDFC Bank. IDFC Bank ended with gains of 8.76%, if I'm not mistaken, and Capital First with gains of over 6%. This buzz was doing the rounds, and we had a top investment bank source tell us that there is a possibility of a merger with some exploratory talks underway. When we asked Rajiv Lal, in fact, my colleague Nisha Podar spoke to Rajiv Lal, and he said it is not true. Those were his very words. We are still awaiting a written reaction, but those were his very words. And Vaidyanathan, when I spoke with him, refused to comment, said totally speculative. Nevertheless, I just want to give you a background to both these companies. Much of it is, of course, well known. Rajiv Lal, in previous interviews to this channel and to me, has said that he's very much interested in inorganic growth. And Capital First Executive Chairman V. Vaidyanathan has, in previous interviews, both to me and to other media, has said that he would be interested in converting into a bank. And after all, it's a steamy growth that company has seen. In 7 years, I think they were under 1,000 crores when Vaidyanathan took over, and it is now at 23,000 crore assets under management in just 7 years. This has been the public posture of V. Vaidyanathan. And Rajiv Lal, I could play the interview that we had with him, and his position has been that he is interested in inorganic growth. This interview was on November 14th after the talks with the Shriram Group had failed.
I'm not shutting out anything inorganic. So we are on record saying that we will continue to explore various alternatives for inorganic growth.
Okay.
And in that context, what's going to happen is going to happen.
Okay. Now, are you therefore looking at any other opportunity, since you say that you are on record that you will look at inorganic opportunities?
We routinely look at other things, and so we continue to do that.
Well, we are told that you are speaking with Manappuram.
I don't think that is accurate.
Okay.
Actually, let me rephrase. We are speaking to a lot of people,
okay,
but it is not the case that we have honed in on Manappuram.
All right.
Well, that's Rajiv Lal on the 14th of November saying that we're speaking to a lot of people. Is Capital First one of them? He says no. Vaidyanathan says it's speculative and will not comment, but we'll continue to track the story. Lata, appreciate you joining us with that. Now, India's exports have taken a bit of a hit in December after growing at a robust 25% for the last few months. Sources say export growth in December may have tapered to about 21%. But despite this dip, India is set to clock double-digit export growth for the first time in 5 years. For the April-December period, India's exports have grown at over 12%. In a bid to boost exports further, CNBC TV18 learns the government is planning to introduce some new incentives and that these will target specific states. Ritu joins us now with the details. Ritu, so, global recovery is ensuring the fact that exports are starting to look better month after month, though December may see a slight decline over the previous month. But what is going to be the state-specific approach to incentives that the government is working on?
Well, as far as December exports are concerned, if you extrapolate it with the December 2016 data, you can expect around 29 billion worth of exports in December 2017. Now, having said that, the government expects for the first time since FY12 double-digit growth in annual exports at the end of FY18. Now, having said that, there was another Commerce Ministry initiative, that is a analysis of exports from states, and that has found that only five states the share of exports to the GSDP is above the national average of 12.2%. These are basically Gujarat, Goa, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Haryana. And that's the reason why the government wants to now push exports in states and incentivize states to have export policies. In fact, go to the district level and promote exports. This was discussed by Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu with his counterparts in a meeting today, and in the coming days we'll see some sort of a package or a policy being devised to promote exports at a state and in fact in the district level. With that, it's back to you.
All right, Ritu, appreciate you joining us with that. Thanks very much. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of What's Hot. Thanks for watching. It was a stellar day for the markets, which hit new highs today. We wrap up the market action on Markets Today Talk back after this break. I'll see you again in 30 minutes on India Business Hour.